data drives the direction so that you can take ownership of your health. I truly believe that what exists inside of you and your ability to lead is truly predicated on the degree in which you're healthy. If you are not tracking, you don't want to know what's broken, there's no way to understand how to fix it. Until you're willing to be consistent, you'll never have the confidence that you truly desire. We have to realize that compromise compounds, but so does consistency. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Ralthing-Schofer. And again, if you're new here, I'm so glad that you found the Own It Show. And really what we do here is just empower leaders. You've heard that in the intro, new branding. I love that new intro, by the way. And I'm just so excited that you guys are here. I'm so excited that we get to pour into you and that you're just a part of what Own It's all about, because we are taking what greatness lives inside of you, pulling it out through how you live, what your lifestyle is all about, and the habits that you develop so that you can take ownership of your health and realize the potential that's there. Because I truly believe that what exists inside of you and your ability to lead is truly predicated on the degree in which you're healthy. And that is what we're trying to maximize here today. And so where I'm going and what we're stepping into in today's episode is really, what does it look like to build a very intentional series of training protocols? And a lot of people have been asking me, because I'm doing the High Rocks in November. I'm getting back into racing season this year. The World Championships were just announced for High Rocks the other day. The US Championships were just announced the other day. They're going to be in DC in 2025. So we've got those on the calendar now. And so we're really just getting excited about this. And you guys are going to start to see a lot more content on my Instagram and through YouTube that are really just documenting the journey of what this looks like, not just for the look and how you actually physically get in this type of shape, but what does it look like to actually put something together that's meaningful, purposeful, and gets you inevitable outcomes in which we're seeking. And that is what this is all about. And so that's what I'm going to go through today, is what do I do on a daily basis, on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, from a test and retest capability. And this is where I get excited, because in Own It, that's what we stand for. We say that data determines direction, data drives decisions, not feelings, not thoughts, not opinions, not emotions. Because when we look at the way the world operates off of feelings, thoughts, emotions, and opinions. You see it all over social media. Everybody has an opinion as to how you should be training, how you should be eating, how you should be sleeping, how you should be recovering, how you should be parenting, how you should be living. Well, what if we actually just use data? And data validated whether we saunaed in the morning, or whether we cold plunged in the afternoon, or whether we trained in a certain way, or whether we ate at a certain time or a certain way. Wouldn't that be amazing? And that's what creates the personalized solutions. That's what gets the most out of us. That's what maximizes each benefit that we're stepping into. And that is what we stand for here at Own It, is coming back to the concept that data drives the direction and data determines the decisions that we help empower you to make as a leader, so that you can take ownership of your health and realize elite health and win in this critical area of our life that often we push to the side, we deprioritize, we give up on because we haven't won there in the past. And that is why we exist and what we step into. So when we think about this for myself, I want to go through a little bit of teaching first, because when we think about how do we actually show up, we have to get baselines. And a lot of times people don't get baselines. People don't understand where they're at. They start training and then they start doing some things for recovery, and they have no idea whether what they've done actually benefited them or whether it was just kind of, this is just how it's always been. And that is what also holds us back from staying consistent with something and staying really bought into something, because we don't actually see the benefit. And so when we come back to this, I start every single training cycle with three things. Number one, a Dexa scan. And what does a Dexa scan do? A Dexa scan gives me a big inside look as to how my body composition look. So number one, how much fat mass I have and where it's disposed on the body. Is there more in my arms? Is there more in my core? Is there more in my legs? And so it gives me a really good understanding of where's my lean muscle mass at, where's my fat mass at, and what's my water weight at. So I can make sure that I'm, again, training and getting the adaptation that I want. If all of a sudden I start training a lot, and I've seen this often because we do Dexa scans on all of our clients. Anytime we do VIP days down here in Miami, we've got a Dexa scan that every client is going through. But the thing is if we don't do Dexa scans, I've seen this many times where all of a sudden somebody will come to us who has been fasting for a long time and who has been training and just pushing themselves through different classes or just training very unintentionally. And all of a sudden they're like, Justin, yeah, I've lost 25 pounds. It's like, okay, this is like cool. That was exciting, right? That was what you were aiming for, was to lose weight. But all of a sudden we do their first baseline DEXA scan and they're the same body fat percentage that they were when they were training with Jungle Gym at some random gym location or some random online coach. And they were the same body composition as they were then, but they've actually lost 25 pounds of muscle mass because of how they were given their nutrition and how they were training and all of these other things. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this. The scale was in my favor, but I actually lost and changed my body composition in a different way than I actually intended. So that is why we always start with a DEXA scan. A DEXA scan is, and I'm going to do a piece of content that actually walks you through where I do my DEXA, how I do it. They come here to the house. It's amazing. And this is why we do it in our VIP days. But you actually lay down on this table and there's this little machine that goes over top of you. And as the machine goes over top of you, it takes a full-on scan of your body and looks at the body composition from lean muscle mass, fat mass, and water weight. And why that's so powerful is now you actually get a very in-depth, best-in-class look at how your body composition is actually running. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing I'll do is I'll do a VO2 max test. And why I do a VO2 max test is I want to understand, is the training that I'm doing cardiovascularly actually helping me improve and become more efficient in my oxygen use, or is it not? Because so many of us would, I guarantee you, be frustrated if we were doing our track workouts, if we were going for the runs, if we were doing the interval work, if we were hitting our workouts the way that we needed to. And when we actually went back and we tested, or we actually looked into something deep, we did not see the benefit that we were actually training for. And so that's how I know, because every 2 months I'm doing my VO2 max test and I know the previous 8 weeks, was my programming on point? Was I consistent? And thus, if both of those are checked, I should see an increase in VO2 max. If I don't see an increase in VO2 max, we have an issue. And I don't want to waste time. I know you don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste energy. You don't want to waste energy. So VO2 max testing is the best way in which we can ultimately get that done. And then the third thing that I'm testing is my cellular micronutrient testing. And we've talked about this a lot, but cellular micronutrient testing lets me see how my body's use of vitamins, minerals, amino acids is ultimately leaving me. Am I more deficient? Am I less deficient? Is there some things nutritionally and supplement wise that I need to change up so that I can start to gain traction in some of these areas? And then the last one, number 4, is some strength testing. And the reason I want to do strength testing or overall fitness testing is so that I can set a baseline for my speed, my strength, and am I actually seeing things in the right way? So when we think about my strength testing at baseline, I'll do a 1,000-meter row for time. Because again, I'm going to have to do that in high rock. So I want to know that my time is improving. A 1,000-meter run, so 1 kilometer, is my time improving or getting worse? And number 3, a ski erg for 1,000 meters, because I have to do that in high rocks as well. So those are the 3 big major movements that I need to make sure that I'm really good at, efficient at, that I'm maintaining, that I'm getting better at. So I'm going to measure them, and I'm going to measure them often. Those are going to happen every 2 weeks. And then from a strength standpoint, I do a 3-rep front squat max. And then I also do a 400-pound sled push max distance in 1 minute. So I want to see, again, how efficient am I getting at these things, because these are very specific to what I'm actually training for. So if we come back, rewind this whole thing, I wanted to give you an overload of what this looks like. Because a lot of you are probably like, oh my gosh, this feels so overwhelming. Oh my gosh, how do I actually do all this? Oh my gosh, what does this look like? This is how we operate with Own It. Like, I have to come back to, this is how we operate within our company. Why? Because as soon as we know what you need, as soon as we know what your baselines are, we are able to start moving forward in a more powerful way. Now, am I going to do the same strength testing on you? Am I going to do the same fitness and cardiovascular testing on you? No, because not everybody is running a high rocks. Not everybody is training for a high rocks. Somebody might be training for a marathon. Well, we're going to test you very different than if we're not. You might just be training for weight loss. We're probably going to start at just the Dexa, the VO2 max, and the cellular blood testing. And that's where we're going to go. And then we're going to do a 1 mile time trial. Those are going to be the 4 things that we're going to test and start you with. It always gets specific to the person on the other end, because once we're specific with the baselines on the other end, then we can continue to retest and continue to move forward. So for mine, this is the way in which we do it. Every 3 months, I'm doing a Dexa scan. So I break it down into quarters, months, weeks. That's where we look at our testing. So every quarter, I'm doing my cellular blood testing along with my Dexa scan. Those are the things that are happening every single quarter. Have them already planned out right through 2025, through the end of 25. I know the days, I know the dates, I know when I'm doing them. So my Dexa scan, as well as my cellular blood testing. Next, every 2 months, I'm doing my VO2 max testing, because I want to go 8 weeks of programming in which I get to understand where my VO2 max is at. From there, every month, I test my 1,000 meter ski, my 1,000 meter row, and my 1,000 meter 1 kilometer run time. Those are getting done every single month. On top of that, my strength work is also every month. So I will do my 3 rep max squat, as well as my sled push in a minute max distance. So that is my time frames in which I'm looking at. So I've got quarters, 2 months, every month. That gives me a really good understanding as the training I'm doing and where I'm going, helping me in the directions in which I'm ultimately striving towards. The daily things that I look at, you're not going to be surprised, in sleep quality. If over the course of 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 24 weeks, whatever time frame it is, I see HRV increasing, I know for a fact that when I all of a sudden go and get my Dexa scan done every quarter, I know I'm going to have more lean mass, I know I'm going to have less fat mass, and I know I'm going to be fitter. I know if I see an increase in HRV over the course of that time, I'm going to see an increase in VO2 max when I retest. I know that if I see an increase in sleep quality and an increase in that when I do my cellular testing, I'm going to see a decrease in total deficiencies. So I can start to predict and make sure that the consistencies in which I'm showing up with are actually optimizing me in the right direction. And so that's really, really critical. And this is why we have this testing set up. And so a lot of you might be going, man, this seems so confusing, so overwhelming. This is why we built our business the way we did, so that we can make sure that this is all in place for you and you just become the operator. What that means is you don't even notice all of these time frames. You don't even notice that all of this is getting done. You don't even notice that all of this is there. You just show up and do what is required for you on that day. And that's the best part about this. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to plan it. You don't have to sustain it. It's you just become the action every day. And your coach is the one that holds you accountable and is sorting through all of this to make sure that you're moving through. This is what winning looks like. This is what winning in your health looks like. Because otherwise you're walking through life, going to your Peloton bike every day, going to your fancy fitness class, doing your version of intermittent fasting, doing your version of random supplementation, and you're walking through life with eyes closed thinking, yeah, I think I'm getting better. But really all you're doing is investing time, money, and energy in something that is just throwing you around in a circle. You've probably felt that way. And you're like, I was on the call with somebody this morning and they're like, Justin, I'm just so grateful because we've invested so much time and energy in things. And just even the last month that they've been in Own It, they go, we've probably saved ourselves 50 plus hours in random research, random efforts, doing things that would have not actually gotten us the results that we were ultimately wanting. And so that's where they get so excited, is we can help you streamline where you're going. So looking back at this, me about a month ago, I did my Dexa scan. I came in at 11% body fat and just knew that that was my baseline. Great. This is where I'm going to start at. This is where I'm going to operate from. And this is what we're going to do. I went and I had a VO2 max of 66. Great. I know my max heart rate. This is where I'm going to be working for zone 2 training this month. This is where I'm going to be training for zone 5 this month. This is what I'm going to be pushing in terms of time and duration so that I can increase. My goal is to get body composition down to about 9% body fat and then get my VO2 up to about 70 over the course of the next 6 months. Those are the 2 goals in both of those areas. When I did my cellular blood testing, I had actually a higher level of deficiencies this time around. Makes total sense because I've increased my amount of travel and I've increased my amount of heavy training. And so I would have expected those things. And so because of that, changed up the diet a little bit, got my new supplements set up in a powerful way. My baseline time for my 1 kilometer run was 3:47. My 1,000 meter row time was 3:23. And my 1,000 meter ski time was 3:58. And so even this morning, I retested a couple of those. My 1 kilometer run time is down to 3:17. My row time is down to 3:14 and my ski is down to 3:37. And so I can start to see improvements on what it is that I'm doing. So because I see that time dropping, I know for a fact that in another month, when I retest my VO2 max is going to increase because I'm doing the things consistently and I have data to validate that. So very specific areas. Remember, body composition through Dexa scan, VO2 max done through VO2 masters. It's the mask that goes over. I'll do content on both of those. We've got our cellular blood testing. You've seen tons of content on that, but I'll continue to show that. Then we've got our cardiovascular timing, which is the ski, the row, and the run. And then my strength training, which is the 3RM squat and the sled push in a minute, max distance. These are the 5 categories that I have as a baseline that I know what's going on, and we're testing them every quarter, every 2 months, and every month. These are the things that matter. This is where it goes. Now, why do we lean into this? Because it's too easy. Somebody said, so Justin, when's your race? I'm like, November 24th. They're like, November 24th? You still have 3 months before you're there. I was like, yeah, I know. So I'm going to get a couple more testing periods in. I'm going to get a couple more data points on. I'm going to be able to see the trajectory of where I'm going, and I'm going to be able to be confident going in. Because here's what I want you to understand. Consistency creates confidence. Where on the other hand, complacency kills consistency, which ultimately confirms compromise. And there's nothing that kills callings greater than compromise. And so the biggest thing that we need to do to establish confidence, stepping up to a race line, stepping up to a start line, stepping up to just waking up and going attacking the day, the way in which we create confidence is by establishing consistency. And that's probably one of the words that a lot of you, on the other hand, are like, man, Justin, I'm not very consistent, or, ooh, consistency is an area that I struggle with, or, man, I've always been consistent for a little while and then I fall off the wagon. And it's not you fall off the wagon because you're not consistent. Look in other areas of your life. I guarantee you you're consistent in other areas of your life. You wake up in the morning, you go and grab your cup of coffee. You're surely consistent with that. You're consistent with watching your NFL football team play every Sunday. You're consistent with that. You're consistent with going and making sure that you get those emails sent or those follow-up sequences sent or your business to-dos done. You make sure you get those done because you feel like you're winning there. You feel like those truly are part of like who you are and your identity in that. And for us, what we need to create is a system that you get to be consistent with. And the problem with, as we do this over the course of time, so many of us become complacent with our health. I see it in just even my preparation for the High Rocks. As I see improvements, it would be very easy to start become complacent. You know what? I've done a lot. I've come a long way. I deserve a day off. I deserve to skip this workout. I can make it up on another day. But the problem with complacency is that it opens the door for compromise. And the best way to kill a calling, the best way to regress, the best way to kill consistency is one compromise at a time. And if you don't have data, if you don't have baselines, if you don't have testing, if you don't have numbers that can help drive your decisions daily, it's so easy to get off track and start to live a life of compromise rather than a life of consistency. I mean, I'm a perfect example. I still remember it was probably 12 2022. It was the World Championships for High Rocks of 2022. I'll never forget this. And my partner and I had just finished the US Championships. We won the US Championships with a time of 55:47. So we finished High Rocks 55:47. And as we finished the US Championships, the World Championships were 2.5 months later. So you think about this. You trained for the US Championships. You've hit a pinnacle. I was fit. I felt great. And I hit a peak. You win. After that win, the last thing I wanted to do was go and start training for another 2.5 months for the Worlds. Even though that I was signed up for them, even though I was motivated, even though I was excited, when I got back home after that win at the US Championships, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to continue this. I just want some time off. And so instead of taking a week off, regenerating, relaxing, I compromised with myself and I said, you know what? I don't want to take time off, but I don't also want to push at the level I was pushing. So I'm just going to be halfway in. And so I would train one day, I wouldn't train the next, I would train the day after, but only do half the volume. Because I only did half the volume that day, I would do half the volume the next day to kind of make up for it because I was only training half the days. I was doing a day off, a day on. And it literally became one compromise after the next. And instead of just taking that 1 week off, regenerating, resting, recovering, and then getting back at it 2 weeks later, it became a month of that. Then it became a month and a half of that. Then it became 2 months of that. And at 2-month mark, I did another test and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm nowhere close to where I need to be. I don't feel as good. I don't feel as confident. I have anxiety. And as I trained for the last probably 3 weeks, really heavily for Worlds, I got to Worlds. And yes, we finished, I think, 16th, which a lot of people, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. Yes, that's great. Yes, it's awesome. But it's not where we could have been had I actually done things the right way. And it was an example of how compromise kills callings. Compromise kills confidence. Compromise kills potential. And it's day in and day out. And again, I didn't retest after the US Championships. I just got right back into it because I was like, hey, I just finished this. I constantly compromised. If I look back on that, it still just like bothers me inside because it was things that I just knew were there and I didn't have the accountability in place. And so this is why with Own It, we use data to determine the direction and the decisions that we're helping you with. We get super personalized on what you need. From there, we hold you accountable to that so that we can actually develop a system that is day in and day out, something that you're owning, something that you're stepping into, something that feels good. And then number 3 is helping you to be consistent so that now over the course of time, it's inevitable the outcome that you're desiring, whether that's to go and participate in a race, whether that's going just to lose weight, whether that's going to get into some level of elite health, whether that's just wanting to win in your health. That is what we ultimately help people do. We help leaders win in their health so that they can ultimately step in and maximize the winning in every other part of their life that they're already winning in. We want to take this area that you've traditionally lost in and help you win there. And that's why I wanted to give you the example of what I'm doing, because everybody sees it on Instagram. They see, oh my gosh, Justin's training for High Rocks. Oh my gosh, Justin's waking up the sun again. Oh my gosh, Justin's going and training again. But it's not just randomly training. It's not just, oh, he's working hard. No, it's very purposeful. I have the testing that's done. I have the baseline metrics. I'm looking at everything on a daily basis, and I have the program that I'm operating off of. The program is built off of data so that when something goes awry, when something is not working, I know what to change. Because if you are not tracking, you don't want to know what's broken, there's no way to understand how to fix it. And it's only by realizing, recognizing, and understanding what's broken that you then have the opportunity to do something different. And that's what's so exciting. That's what's so unique. That's what's so powerful about this. And so I wanted to give you guys an inside look into what I do so that you can either A, take it for yourself, or B, be like, hey, I don't necessarily know or understand how to do this, but I want you to do it with Own It. And if you are interested in getting it done with it, you can go to ownitcoaching.com and book a call with our team. They can help you get all this all set up. But I've also created this playbook that you can actually start to look at. And if you go to theownitshow.com, you can actually start to grab this little downloadable PDF to actually understand it a little bit better. And so what you're going to start to see a lot more content from me on Instagram is going through and, okay, what does this testing look like? Let's see Justin do the VO2 max test. Let's see Justin do the Dexa scan. Let's see Justin do the cardiovascular testing and the strength testing. Let's see him get his blood testing done and look at the different results. So you're going to actually see that. And then I'm doing a YouTube special that's actually going to take you through my training from now through when I go and run the High Rocks in November. And we're going to do a deep download, and you're going to see me walk in and get my Dexa done. You're going to see me get the blood testing done. You're going to see me get all this and really understand the experience and what this actually is all about and what this looks like. And so you're going to feel like you're a part of the journey. You're going to feel like you actually can see it. You're going to feel like you can actually lean into it. And what I'm hoping happens with that is you start to see the level of consistency that comes about this, because there's a heavy difference between complacency and contentment. I'm not complacent with where I'm at, but I'm extremely content because I have confidence in what I do consistently. I'll say that again. I'm not complacent with where I'm at, but I'm extremely content because I have been so committed and consistent that I have confidence with what I'm doing every single day. And so that's really where I want you just to lean in and understand why this lifestyle elevates you in how you show up every single day. It elevates you in how you lean in. It elevates you with what your lifestyle actually looks like. And so that's what I want for you as well. Because remember, complacency kills consistency and confirms compromise. And until you're willing to be consistent, you'll never have the confidence that you truly desire. And that's where we need to lean into this level of commitment. And commitment starts with knowing your baseline numbers, knows what's happening with data, because data continues to validate your commitment because it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not 1 month of training really hard that you're going to see just these numbers completely transform. There's some numbers that I don't even look at for an entire 3 months. So you can bet your booty that I'm at least being really consistent and committed for those 3 months. And then when you look at the data and you're like, oh my gosh, VO2 max went from 66 to 69. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, there's payoff. Yeah, I'm working. Body composition went from 11% to 9%. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I feel good. Yeah, I'm confident. Yeah, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be feeling like I'm winning in this category and in this area. But it's when you're blindly walking through life, randomly choosing things, randomly doing things that you are ultimately just like, man, this isn't working for me. Man, I don't feel like I'm winning. Man, I don't feel motivated. Man, I don't feel excited. Man, I feel like this is a drag. And that is what breeds compromise. Compromise is one of just like it is just one of the devil's most powerful tactics. And the funny part about the way that the devil works with compromise is what's happening at the very beginning. That little compromise, he'll say is not a big deal. But then all of a sudden when the compromise happens, it's the biggest deal in the world. You know what? You don't need that workout. You can skip it. And then you skip it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you skipped that workout. That was the most important workout that you could have done. And now you're just a bag of trash. You probably relate to that. All that happens through compromise is you accept lies. And it's only when you can really, truly lean into commitment and consistency that you realize the true confidence that comes from that. And so guys, as you step in, we have to realize that compromise compounds, but so does consistency. And so either you're going to let your compromise compound or you're going to let consistency compound. Only one of those breeds confidence, and that's consistency. And it starts with getting really clear on what your baselines are, getting really clear on how this can be personalized to you, and then being held accountable on your journey. Because we know success is different. So own your different. And we'll see you guys next week.